first on the news.
Well, I'm glad to see you.
Heckling and major announcements at this year's State of the Union. We'll break down the highlights and the stance taken on abortion.
Questi nostri fratelli e sorelle.
Turkey and Syria in ruins. Pope Francis prays for the victims of that devastating earthquake, the deadliest in a decade, as crews run out of time to find survivors. Demands from China. The communist country wants what's left of its spy balloon back as the U.S. decides what to do next. Plus, the 17-year-old who's making history in the skies. I'm Jessica Easthope. Currents News starts right now. President Joe Biden faced a tough crowd during his second State of the Union address Tuesday night. He broke down his legislative accomplishments and the country's progress and stood his ground while Republican lawmakers heckled him and booed, but still insisted both sides of the aisle work together.
Because the soul of this nation is strong, because the backbone of this nation is strong, because the people of this nation are strong, the State of the Union is strong.
President Biden seizing on a major primetime address to a joint session of Congress to reflect on the past 2 years.
The story of America is a story of progress and resilience.
And lay out his vision for the next 2.
Let's finish the job this time.
Biden describing an inflection point for the country, arguing that the U.S. economy has made a turnaround.
2 years ago, the economy was reeling. I stand here tonight after we've created, with the help of many people in this room, 12 million new jobs.
And that the COVID pandemic is now in the rearview mirror.
Today, COVID no longer controls our lives.
And also touting some of his major legislative accomplishments.
I signed over 300 bipartisan pieces of legislation since becoming president.
A notable difference from Biden's last State of the Union address.
America,
Republican House Speaker Kevin McCarthy seated behind him.
The new Speaker of the House, Kevin McCarthy.
At times stoic as Democrats applauded the speech.
Our democracy remains unbowed and unbroken.
And at other times, visibly trying to quiet his colleagues as they heckled Biden, including on the topic of entitlement cuts.
Some Republicans want Medicare and Social Security to sunset. I'm not saying it's a majority. Let me give you, anybody who doubts it, contact my office. I'll give you a copy. I'll give you a copy of the proposal. Look.
Still, the president insisting that he will work with the other party.
There's no reason we can't work together and find consensus on important things in this Congress as well.
Many are touting the president's speech as a victory as he now preps for a 2024 re-election bid. But not everyone saw it as a victorious speech. Arkansas Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders gave the GOP's response to the State of the Union. Her message: Republicans are fighting back.
Make no mistake, Republicans will not surrender this fight. We will lead with courage and do what's right, not what's politically correct or convenient. Under the leadership of Senate Republicans and Speaker Kevin McCarthy, we will hold the Biden administration accountable.
She added that a new generation of Republican leaders are stepping up to build a stronger America. At the State of the Union, lawmakers gave examples of how to wear their politics on their sleeves, or rather, their chests. Pins were the way to silently make a statement. A big one, this abortion pin that Senator Ed Markey is showing off. He believes that abortion is essential health care. Another one, a simple crayon like the one Senator Warren displayed to signify a child care crisis in America. And this black pin with the year 1870 being worn by Congresswoman Ilhan Omar was also on display. It marks the year of the first known police killing of a free and unarmed black person in the United States. Some of the other pins that were represented, blue and yellow in support of Ukraine, and a March for Our Lives pin aimed at backing gun control legislation.
Also tonight, the death toll in Turkey and Syria nearly doubles as crews race against the clock trying to save the thousands still missing. Families anxiously waiting and praying for a miracle. Right now on Currents News, the desperate search for survivors.
And around the world, Catholics are joining those prayers. Pope Francis ended his general audience Wednesday asking for Mary's intercession and that she may help the countries overcome this tragedy.
Ave Maria, piena di grazia, il
The Pope
Signore è
then
con
led the
te.
pilgrims in a Hail Mary for those affected. He was joined by the U.S. bishops who released a statement on the tragedy that also called upon the faithful to help in any way they can. But among the devastation, signs of hope. This statue of Mary remained untouched as the cathedral around her collapsed. A Turkish Jesuit priest posted online about the statue and the destruction of the Cathedral of the Annunciation in Alexandretta. Also among the good news, the priest shared that all those in the cathedral are fine and are welcoming people to stay with them. Images are continuing to flood in of people being found alive beneath the rubble. Rescue teams from Turkey, Syria, and beyond are frantically searching for survivors, especially since the human body can only go 2 to 4 days without water. The brutal cold temperatures aren't making matters easier. And as the death toll rises to more than 12,000, Isabel Rosales has the latest on the efforts on the ground.
Beneath crumbled neighborhoods, signs of life. On top a pile of debris, rescuers cheer and carry a child to medical help. These 2 children and other survivors freed from the tangle of steel and concrete. Over in northwestern Syria, where some areas are controlled by anti-government rebels, aid agencies are especially worried. It's home to more than 4 million people already relying on humanitarian help.
This country has already been suffering from the devastation of the war. And now to have those crises, this earthquake on top of the crisis, it's like the perfect storm that nobody ever wished for.
Another worry, as cold settles in, many survivors now homeless and facing freezing temperatures. At this Istanbul Aid Collection Center, organized chaos, food, water, and other necessities stacked high. But it's not enough. Hospitals in war-torn Syria are overloaded, says UNICEF, and the widespread damage caused a temporary disruption to the United Nations' only approved crossing to deliver aid into Syria.
The fact is the Assad regime continues to block aid, and he, alongside Russia, have stopped and blocked cross-line and cross-border aid to millions of civilians that are out in the cold.
Calls are mounting for the U.S. and United Nations to do more. Isabel Rosales, Currents News.
We are learning tonight that a Queens family was among those killed by the earthquake. Barak Farik, along with his wife and 2 young sons, left their home in Queens a month ago to visit family in Turkey. They were on the top floor of a 5-story building when the earthquake struck. Their relatives in Corona recently got confirmation the family had been killed from Farik's father, who was in the car at the time of the deadly shock. In Brooklyn, Catholics are working hard to help the efforts in Turkey and Syria. Bishop Gregory Mansour of the Eparchy of St. Marin Church in Brooklyn is setting up a fundraiser for those affected by the devastation. Bishop Mansour spoke with Currents News and explained the importance of donating to this cause.
It's a beautiful effort that the churches here and people here are making to support them in their great time of need. I know that we have 3 Maronite bishops, one in Damascus. He had structural damage in many of his places, and another bishop in Latakia, and the other bishop in Aleppo. Brooklyn has been on the leading edge, always, in first to serve the poor, first to serve not just in Brooklyn, but overseas. So I would be very glad to work with anybody. We started our own fundraising. We're able to send money through the 3 bishops there.
Bishop Mansour further explained that while Christianity is a minority religion in these countries, people of faith and Catholic organizations are always rolling up their sleeves to help in times of trouble, something that has earned them respect from the non-Christian communities. If you want to donate to Bishop Mansour's fundraiser, just go to stmarin.org/donate. It's a New York City shakeup. Gary Jenkins, the city's Department of Social Services commissioner, will step down. His last official day is March 3rd. Jenkins said the decision was planned ahead of time and is not because of a recent surge in the city's migrant population, which has surpassed a robust 44,000. In response, Mayor Eric Adams tweeted, quote, "I'm incredibly grateful to Gary for his decades of service." Flags in New York are flying at half staff today. That's because NYPD officer Adid Fayez has died days after being shot in the head. His funeral will be held Thursday in Brooklyn. The city's police commissioner, Keishant Sewell, said, quote, "Our department deeply mourns his passing, and his family and our loved ones are in our prayers." Fayez was off duty at the time, lured into a robbery while trying to buy a truck off of Facebook Marketplace. Police arrested the suspected gunman on Monday. Randy Jones was caught at a hotel in Nanuet. When he was arrested, officers used handcuffs that belonged to Fayez. No formal charges have been made yet. Heading down now to Washington, as the Pentagon believes it's made some progress on the downed China spy balloon. They believe it's a part of a surveillance program that China's military is running. It's believed that balloons have flown on at least 24 other missions over 5 continents. And as Shelly Malachi tells us, while teams are working around the clock to recover more debris off the coast of South Carolina, lawmakers are considering what the U.S. will do next.
As the FBI analyzes what's left of a suspected Chinese spy balloon, a U.S. military report is raising questions about the United States' ability to track these balloons over American airspace.
We didn't think that the Chinese would be using balloons for this purpose.
These new pictures show the rush to collect debris after the balloon was shot down on Saturday off the coast of South Carolina. China, which has maintained that the balloon was a civilian weathercraft, is responding, saying what's left of the balloon and its payload belongs to them and not the U.S.
It's incredibly provocative. I mean, it's kind of a middle finger, frankly, to our diplomacy.
And we're learning new details about these kinds of balloons from a 2022 Air Force report, which found that over the last several years, China deployed multiple balloons that can fly as high as 328,000 feet and can circumnavigate the globe. A Pentagon official said the military had an awareness gap that led to failure to detect 3 Chinese balloons under President Donald Trump, including one in 2019 that the report says flew past Hawaii and across Florida undetected.
We have a lot to do in order to fill that gap. So whether it's radar coverage, intelligence coverage, and really a combination of both of those.
Meanwhile, House Republicans are considering a symbolic resolution to condemn China. As the so-called Gang of 8, congressional leaders are expected to be briefed on the balloon by U.S. intelligence officials on Wednesday.
What were their motivations and what were they able to get and transmit back?
I'm Shelly Malachi reporting.
There's a lot more news headed your way. The African-American trailblazer that's soaring to new heights. The mother who defied a doctor's orders in order to keep her baby girls. And the study that's outlining your keys to happiness.
Currents News is there.
The first March for Life since Roe v. Wade was overturned.
People kept coming in, and it was a really big celebration atmosphere.
The March for Life. From Brooklyn.
What parishes do we have here?
St. Mark's,
Thankful Heart of Mary.
To Washington.
This generation has a lot of eyes on them, and so if we come out and show support and stand firm, hopefully change will be made in the future.
And the work that lies ahead.
Transform the culture.
When news happens, Currents News is there.
Blazing trails in the sky. A teenager is making history by becoming the youngest African-American pilot in his state. And as Andy Madison shows us, he's taking inclusivity to new heights.
Double grounds, Kahak 739.
Gabriel Carruthers is no stranger to flying high. Aviation sparked his interest early on.
My father had a family friend who had an airplane that he used to fly with, so he thought it'd be interesting to take me and my brother up for a flight when we were 5 and 6 years old.
At age 14, he designed and built his first flight simulator.
A home-built computer, so I had to do research on what went into a computer and then what all parts and components I needed to make sure it worked. And then learning all the intricate pieces of it, the programming of it, and the simulator itself was another thing.
And boy, did it pay off. Gabriel is now the youngest pilot in New Mexico history after completing his private pilot check ride just 10 days after his 17th birthday.
I wasn't really thinking about making history. I was just thinking about flying and doing what I like to do every day. But then it's days like this that really makes me feel it and reflect back on it.
Since then, he's been soaring to heights far and beyond.
It's a feeling of freedom and joy.
Paving the way for those behind him. As a member of the General Lloyd Fig Newton local chapter of Tuskegee Airmen, a national nonprofit organization named after the first African-American pilot for the U.S. Air Force Thunderbirds.
Leaving a trail behind, leaving a path for other kids to follow really lightens up my heart, and to make sure that they have a future no matter what they do.
So what's next? Gabe says he wants to learn to fly vintage aircraft and participate in air shows. Then head to the Air Force Academy,
A whole lot to do here,
where he plans to fly high as he serves our country.
That was Andy Madison reporting. Gabriel's hard work is paying off. It only took about 4 years of training to get his pilot's license. The Tablet newspaper is honoring Black History Month by looking to a Catholic pioneer for African Americans. Harriet Thompson has been credited with starting the Black Catholic movement in the U.S. after she wrote an 8-page message to the Pope outlining the treatment she received not just from society, but from the church itself. Read more about her missive and how the Pope responded in this week's paper. This issue also has love on the brain. As the paper looks to Valentine's Day, there are stories that could turn anyone into a romantic. Find out the history behind wedding bands and how the tradition has changed over time. And you can learn the secret to a long and happy marriage thanks to 2 of the longest married couples in the Diocese of Brooklyn. All those stories and more will be in this week's issue, but beyond just reading the Tablet, you can support the paper's mission thanks to the Tablet's membership program. With a generous donation of just $50, you'll not only get the paper straight to your mailbox, you can gift a subscription to a friend, plus get access to the Tablet's online content and a quarterly newsletter, and get a commemorative drawstring bag and a pin. But that's just the tip of the iceberg. Gift $100 and you'll become a sponsor, getting everything we just mentioned, plus a Tablet baseball cap, and be part of the recognition listing on the paper's website. Contribute $250 and you'll become a patron. And among the things added to your list of perks are 4 tickets to the Tablet Appreciation Night at the Cyclone Stadium and free VIP access to certain diocesan events. For $500, you will become a benefactor of the Tablet, and you'll also get a signed copy of Ed Wilkinson's book, Chasing Church News, and an invitation to the annual Catholic Communications Mass and reception. And if you give $1,000, you will become a founder. That'll secure you an invitation to the annual Editors Roundtable reception. To see the full list of membership levels and the benefits of each, just go to thetablet.org/become-a-member. Since the Tablet is giving you a secret to a long and happy marriage, how about we tell you the secret to happiness? It actually comes from the world's longest scientific study. For 85 years, Harvard researchers have been tracking a group of people and their descendants in hopes of finding the answer to one great question: what makes a good life? Mandy Gaither speaks with the study's director to find out this searched-for secret.
What makes a person happy is an age-old question that Harvard researchers have spent decades trying to answer.
People who do the best, who are happiest and healthiest, maintain their relationships.
Physical fitness is vital to health, but researchers say so is what's called social fitness. The study finds that more than anything else, being close to others is what keeps people happy throughout their lives. And researchers say it's never too late to find that happiness.
Our study shows us that people find friends, they find love when they're sure it's never going to happen for them, at all different points of their lives.
Study director Dr. Robert Waldinger says a lot depends on whether you're intentional about making and nurturing good relationships. If you're looking to be happier, he says, take small steps.
It doesn't have to be big. Think of somebody you miss, somebody you'd like to connect with. Just send them a text, send them an email saying, "Hi, I was thinking of you and just wanted to connect."
Waldinger says social media can also help with happiness goals, but only if it's used to connect with others.
If we passively consume somebody else's Instagram feeds, somebody else's happy pictures of beaches and parties, that's going to lower our self-esteem. It's going to make us feel like we're missing out on the good life, which isn't the truth.
I'm Mandy Gaither.
Still to come on Currents News, stepping up for her unborn girls, the mother who defied doctor's orders in order to keep her twins. Plus, why everything is awesome for one group of Catholic school students fresh off a robotics tournament. Do you have a story idea or want to share a tip? Email us at newstips@desalesmedia.org or call our 24-hour number 718-517-3122. We'll be right back. They have the technology and the skills to be robotics champions. The 7th and 8th grade robotics teams from St. Joseph the Worker Catholic Academy won big over the weekend as the Autobots and the Big Friendly Robots both took home first place trophies at the first LEGO League qualification tournament. The students used their STEM skills while also displaying values like professionalism and teamwork. The 8th grade team will now compete in the semifinals on March 5th, while the 7th grade team will head to the NYC Championship on March 12th. Now to a pro-life story some are calling a miracle. A mother in Tyler, Texas, who was told to terminate her pregnancy after doctors said her baby girls weren't going to survive. But as Andy Madison reports, the mom put her faith in God, and now the conjoined twins are defying the odds.
Deletzi and Delesa are connected by the heart and liver. The family was told by doctors that the babies wouldn't survive the pregnancy and termination was the best option. But their mother, Norma, said no.
We said we would leave it in God's hands and continue the pregnancy because no one ever knows what could happen after. And here are my babies. We decided not to end the pregnancy because how are we going to end our own babies' lives?
They defied the odds and are here today at 5 months old. But it hasn't been a smooth road. Deletzi is on a breathing tube and is slightly smaller than Delesa. They are under the hospice pediatric care of Dr. Amy Starr. She says they can't be separated because their heart is so malformed.
Even with all the wonders of modern day pediatric cardiovascular surgery, they don't believe they could make a functional single heart for one kid, even taking parts out of both.
And as the twins continue to live and grow in Tyler, the question of transportation comes into play. The family needs a car seat that would fit them.
Since they were born, we haven't been able to take them anywhere. I would love to have a car seat for them to take them to church or to the park with their little brother so they can see a different environment.
It would have to be a car bed right now, but even those, we don't have anything that we can modify.
Dr. Starr and nurses have to travel to the home. She says the twins rode in an ambulance when going home from the hospital, but it isn't an ideal solution. There is currently only one car seat manufacturer located in Utah that could possibly make a custom seat. But due to the twins being in Texas, they are not confident that there is a safe way to get them there. But the family isn't ending the fight here because they have faith.
I feel grateful with God and very happy that my babies are here with me. We have our faith set that we can come up with something. For a reason, God has left them with us for this time. They are here for a reason, and we feel very blessed with them because they are a miracle.
Andy Madison, Currents News.
And that is Currents News. I'm Jessica Easthope. Thank you for joining us because we are putting your faith in the news. Hope to see you again next time.